Hi, everybody. Welcome to the JSA Spotlight Sit-Down Series. I'm John Shepard. Joining us today is Ed Freiberg of Compass Real Estate. He is a residential real estate broker handling all types of high-end and mid-range real estate properties. Ed, welcome.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. Look forward to talking about the market and how it impacts everything you're doing. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and Compass?
Sure. So I've been in the business about 18 years now, which I'm amazed and shocked. It's been a long haul, but it's been a good one. And I've been with Compass for about 8-9 years. I say I've been at the company long enough and early enough with the company that I got Eddie@compass.com as my email address. And Compass has been around around for 10 years. And the company started out with sort of a two-headed, where it was regular brokerage, but they also have a tech side of it. So they're trying to infuse tech into real estate to sort of think a little more forward than most real estate companies, which are always a little antiquated in our business. And that's what really drew me to the company. And they've really been, I think, ahead of the game in how we market and how we push out our properties and stuff like that. And I've been very, very happy. My business is mostly resale, so I deal with a lot of condos, co-ops, a lot of individual sales, but I do sort of the gamut of real estate. From new development, I sell a lot of townhouses, and I do all of Manhattan and most of Brooklyn.
Which keeps you very busy in this market.
Very busy,
the two places that everybody wants to be.
Exactly.
Whether young or old, and we'll talk about that later on, about who the buyer of residential real estate is right now. But with those two markets, I got to believe that the market's still very strong in 2025. And talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, the market it's been interesting. So, the market was extremely strong coming out of the pandemic, 2021. We had all this pent up buyers who weren't out there in 2020 because everyone was kind of on hold. And then everyone was flush with cash. Interest rates were really low, so there was a buying frenzy that happened in 2021. I say if you were a real estate broker and didn't have your best year in 2021, you need to really look in the mirror.
Probably weren't working all that hard.
You weren't working that hard, and also you were like, I don't know, you had your head in the sand.
Yeah.
But then interest rates started going up in 2022, and it changed everything. And it changed it quickly. It went from people having mortgage rates in the 3% to really getting to 6% within a couple of months. And so that really changed everyone's economics and really put the market to a sort of grinding halt for a couple of years. And each year, people thought that the mortgage rates were going to come down. They've really been sticky at 6-7%. And I think what's happening in the beginning of this year is that people finally realize that mortgage rates aren't coming down. So there is still pent up demand, but they know that the rates really aren't going to change. So people are getting off the sidelines, and we're really seeing a lot of buying starting to happen. We're seeing bidding wars. We're seeing a lot of money in different properties that we're not selling or weren't transacting before, and we're starting to really. And this is empirical because the data hasn't come out, but definitely I think that there's a lot more activity right now.
Yeah, I think that settling of the market is something that you speak to. And, we always talk about the other side. They're looking for the best deal, and the seller really looking for that highest dollar. And really getting to a place where we are today, where, we were talking earlier off camera about one of the things that's going on in your world with families kind of deciding what to do with properties that are in the family. And, you were talking about the 50-something-year-olds, what I call the sandwich generation, who have kids and parents, and they're inheriting, a piece of real estate or something like that from a parent. Talk to our audience a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm 54, so I grew up in New York City.
You're holding up good.
Thank you very much. I try a lot of good creams. But I have a lot of good friends who have reached out to me over the last couple of years, and they're trying to decide and do a little family planning and deciding what they should be doing with their family's property. Now, most of the time, the parent is still living there, but maybe the property hasn't been updated in about 40 years, so they're realizing that the appreciation is not really going to change over the next couple of years. So maybe it's better to try and sell it now while supply is a little down, and rather than hold on to it, and then they use that money to invest and try and make money on that end. So there's a lot of big decisions that are being made, and I've been walking through this process with clients and friends who are friends of mine who are really trying to make sort of really hard decisions on what to do with the properties. And also, it helps the entire family, right? Because that money will go down generationally.
Yeah.
And it's big money. It's New York City. And these are often big properties because they were bought 40 or 50 years ago for $75,000. And they've appreciated quite a bit.
$2.3 million.
Exactly.
And,
Right. And exactly. And so now, there's also, capital gains and what to do, how to protect that money. So, I work with a lot of trust and estates people to try and figure this out. And sort of, I don't want to be the sole expert on something I'm not an expert in. So I try to bring in other people to really talk about it and help them make these decisions.
It's really interesting, this phenomenon that you're dealing with, because it's just one more layer on one of the things that people know in my business, that I talk about is the generationality of work and life and everything like that. And, you have these people who are at a moment in their lives trying to do everything for the generation ahead of them and the generation behind them.
Right.
One of the other things that we talked about off camera was the type of individuals that you're seeing or families that are coming into to buy in the market. Everybody from empty nesters down to people buying their first place.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the demographics of the people you're engaging.
Sure, yeah. So, what I found in the past year, and we talked about this before, is a lot of people who are getting mortgage rates were shying off of buying properties. But what I was seeing is a lot of empty nesters coming in and buying they now have a big house, probably in the suburbs, and they don't need all that space. They can sell it because the suburbs has really low supply, so they can get top dollar for their home. And then they're really looking to come back into the city, and so they can go to the theater, so they can enjoy all the things that you enjoy in New York City. And they often are cash buyers, so they also know that they're taking advantage of a dip in the market. So I've had a number of empty nesters buying in New York City. They usually they're my Manhattan buyers because they want to be near the theater, they want to be near all the restaurants,
right?
And it's been pretty amazing seeing them come in, and they're getting really good value. Because they were buying last year or earlier this year, and they're getting great value and been very, very happy to come back into the city. They left for their families, but they really want to be in the city and be sort of in the mix of everything, not have to deal with the car. They can just jump in an Uber, on the train, or wherever they want.
That's a lifestyle move.
It's a lifestyle move.
It's
totally lifestyle move. And it's a smart investment for them, for their family, because they can utilize the money they've made. They're not affected by the mortgage rates. They're buying when there is a dip in New York City real estate, and they've been very smart buyers that I've seen, and I think they're going to do very well.
That's great. That's great. I have I'm a little older than you, and I have a number of friends who have kind of gone in that direction. I myself went the opposite. I was a bachelor in New York City for a long time, and then now I have a split level ranch house in the suburbs. But that phenomenon, it seems like it's going to continue as the health of the baby boomers is a little bit better than the generation previous to them. So they want to take advantage of the theater and the restaurants and the social circles and everything else that's going on. And what about the first-time buyers? Talk to us about those folks, because in Brooklyn, I would think that's more.
It's interesting. There's sort of like two different tiers. There's first-time buyers I get in Manhattan, which are a lot of times either children of wealthy families, and their families are helping them buy, and they're buying something in Manhattan, or I deal with a lot of tech entrepreneurs, and they've come into a good amount of money, and they're committed to New York City. The talent is here. They want with their business, and they want to be in New York City, sort of in the mix. So I get that's a lot of my Manhattan buyers. In Brooklyn, I'm getting a ton of young families who are the first-time buyers, who are sort of they were renting, they weren't really committing to anything. Now their life is about to change, and they really want to put their feet down because they want to go to school. So they're picking neighborhoods based on schools a lot. And so that's a lot of the first-time buyers, and it's great. I mean, that's basically what I was when I got married and knew I was having a kid. I was like, all right, I'm buying my first place.
Put your footprint down.
Exactly. I was like the single guy who wanted to rent and be a little freer, and then once I knew that I really, I wanted to be near this school or whatever, I bought, and that helps me to sort of speak the language to these buyers of really putting your foot down and buying a place that you can grow into with your family and a neighborhood you can grow into, and people are, Brooklyn's a very big place, but it becomes very small in the different neighborhoods that you're in. We're right now in Williamsburg, which is next to Greenpoint, and both neighborhoods are pretty small, but like are very well connected.
Right.
And Greenpoint has a number of elementary schools, so people really want to be in Greenpoint. But there's only about 20 blocks in Greenpoint, so everyone wants to be in the same place. It raises obviously the price level, but it's a really wonderful community.
Yeah, and the schools are really driving it.
Schools
Especially
drive
those
it.
young couples. They want to put their footprint down. They want to sit for 10 plus years until the kids get out of middle school into high school and beyond. And it seems to be that's not changing anytime soon. It seems like you're going to be busy for a while.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I love it because because I can speak to it. Because when I was a little kid, I grew up in Greenwich Village. I went to school on the Upper West Side, and I remember telling my parents, I'm like, we got to live close to the school because all my friends were within a few blocks, and even though it's relatively in the rest of the world, it's only a few miles away.
Mm-hmm.
It's worlds away when you're that far in New York City. So you really want to you want to make it sort of a hyper neighborhood, and that really helped for me to know these small neighborhoods really well, to speak to people about what street they want to be in and how it changes and where the schools are and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the smart buyers, they're drilling down to that point with you. That's a value add that you bring that probably most real estate purchasers don't bring.
Yeah.
It's super important. But that speaks to the way that you engage your clients and everything like that. It's very much about your value. We've known each other a very long time, and I know that you go about it in a thoughtful way that is family oriented, whether they're at the beginning of starting and raise a family, or they're trying to figure out to do it with mom and dad's residence that they don't want anymore, or an empty nester coming back in. Where can people find you? How can we get people to get to you?
You can call me. My number is 917-592-5971, or email, like I said. The easiest one is eddie@compass.com, which is EDDIE@compass.com. I love to hear from people, and I think one of my value adds, other than I'm one of the most honest brokers, I've talked as many clients out of properties that I talked them into it, is that I understand that this is obviously a huge financial commitment, but I also understand the emotional commitment that you're making. Your home is a reflection of who you are, and there's something very important about having someone who can talk you through, the emotions and how important the right decision is for you, for your family. I think I speak that language very well, and I've experienced it on a number of different ways. And in different markets, from the highs to the very, very lows of COVID and the financial crisis, and so I'm able to really speak a language that I think resonates with my clients, both buyers and sellers, and it's really been a fun experience for me.
In the 15 years I've known you, it's been nothing but it speaks to one of the things here on the JSA Spotlight Sit-Down Series that we talk about is we want to feature people and businesses. There are two things. Number one, subject matter experts, know their stuff. Number two, good human beings, and this gentleman here is both of those things. We thank you for joining us on the series. We'll look forward to seeing you again real soon.
Thank you.